Welcome to your Prepaid Legal Services private business briefing with Darnell Self and Brian Carruthers. At 28 years old, married with kids, Darnell Self realized he had no time or money. He was working at a retail store in a mall and was sick and tired of a check-to-check lifestyle. Since getting involved in prepaid legal services, he now has the time freedom to spend with his family and the financial security most people only dream of. In 2005, he and his wife Tracy were recognized by the U.S. National Black Chamber of Commerce as being Entrepreneurs of the Year for their efforts in their prepaid legal business. As top leaders, they've helped many others make their dreams come true. Brian Carruthers' background was real estate, working 7 days a week, 8 till faint, in pursuit of building a big income. His income was great, but he had no time for anything else. He found that the large income just didn't balance the fact that he had no time freedom. And he found something that could give him both. The information on this program changed Darnell and Brian's lives, and it can change yours too. In the next few minutes, Darnell and Brian share information with you about Prepaid Legal Services, a New York Stock Exchange company that's capitalizing on North America's 2 hottest trends. An incredible service that over 1.5 million North American families currently have for the events that happen in our everyday lives. A service that's helping people with the escalating and devastating problem of identity theft crimes. And they'll share with you an opportunity that can provide you a part-time income or a completely new lifestyle. Choice is yours.
Hello and welcome to our Prepaid Legal and Identity Theft Services presentation. My name is Darnell Self and I have the privilege to share some information with you that someone shared with me years ago when I first took a look at Prepaid Legal Services Incorporated. You know, prior to Prepaid Legal, I was a retail manager. I worked at a mall. And I did all the things my parents taught me to do: go to school, get some good grades, get your degree, get out and get a good job. My challenge was my retail job was paying me more than what my degree would offer me. So I felt stuck at this job. I don't know if you've ever felt stuck at your job before. I was working hard enough so they couldn't fire me, and they were paying me just enough so I couldn't quit. And I felt like I was doing okay, though, because I was in my 20s, driving a Lexus vehicle. I owned my own house, a 4-story home. But I made a few bad decisions, had some financial hardships, and I was humbled quickly. It's months behind on my mortgage. My home was up for foreclosure. My car was repossessed that same month. And the distress of trying to figure out how to feed my kids, 2 kids at the time and married, really was hard on me. But the very next month, Prepaid Legal came into my life. And I got excited, even though I was somewhat skeptical because I had tried so many things before, so many businesses that I didn't make any money with. But I took a look at Prepaid Legal, and it changed my life. Fast forward, here we are now, my wife and I, the same salary we used to make, working 60 to 80 hours a week, we now give away to the nonprofits and charities that we support. My grandmother, who's in her 80s, believe it or not, was still working. We retired her because of our Prepaid Legal business. We now have 4 children, and we're able to travel with them across North America and abroad because of our Prepaid Legal business. And unfortunately, a lot of our family members find themselves in this economic climate not being able to pay their mortgage, and we're able to support them because of this Prepaid Legal business. You know, a mentor of mine shared this with me. He said, Darnell, never convince people to do anything they don't want to do, because then they'll do it because you're convincing them to do it, not because they've made their own decision to do it, and they won't succeed anyway. So we're here to present some information with you today and let you make your own decision. You know, if it's not for you, you've wasted 20 to 30 minutes out of your entire life. But if it is for you, the next 20 to 30 minutes can change the rest of your life. You know, when you're evaluating any opportunity, there's 5 major areas you want to take a look at. The first, the company. You want to make sure the company's credible, it's authentic, it's not in business today and gone out of business tomorrow. You want to make sure, too, there's a need in the marketplace. In other words, if you can find a void and fill it, you can become wealthy. Number 3, the product. You want to make sure you can't just go anywhere else and get the same thing. And we've got a very unique product, and the only ones offering it the way that we offer it. And we'll talk about that. The compensation. You want to make sure you get paid for what you're doing. You know, my mother used to say, Darnell, money's not everything, but it is when you don't have any. She also used to say, Darnell, money can't buy you happiness. But look at the smile on my face. I'm telling you that's not the truth. You know, it's a different feeling when you wake up in the morning, not concerned about how you're going to pay your bills, but thinking about who you can help that day because all your bills have been paid. You know, it's one thing to do what you've been called to do, and not the thing you feel like you have to do for money every single day. And then finally, the timing. The timing's perfect with prepaid legal services all across North America, and we'll prove that to you here today. Let's talk a little bit about the company. Our company started in 1972. We're a publicly traded company, started off on the NASDAQ, moved over to the American Stock Exchange. We were #1. How many people realize you can't get better than #1 even when you try? So we were invited over to the most prestigious exchange in the world, the New York Stock Exchange. The wonderful thing about being publicly traded is that we're an open book, a glass house. You can find out whatever you want to find out on our company. You see, at 28 years old, selling jeans and T-shirts at the mall, I didn't want people to buy the messenger, but yet the message. And whether I do a presentation in front of 2 people or 10,000 people, there's always someone who says, well, let me do my research. And the extent of their research is typically going to talk to their cousin or coworker. But the great thing about our company is we've got so much third-party validation. I once heard it said this way: documentation beats conversation. And so the research has already been done by third-party publications like Forbes magazine. We're familiar with Forbes because they rank the richest people in America every year. They rank the best-performing companies every single year. And Forbes magazine said one of the best 200 small companies in America, prepaid legal services. Fortune magazine says one of the fastest growing companies in America, prepaid legal services. Money magazine, Individual Investor, Brokers World, Equities magazine, all say wonderful things about our company, prepaid legal services. As a matter of fact, USA Today came out with an article. The cover story, the money section, it's a picture of our founder and CEO, Mr. Harlan C. Stonecipher there. And they did a study of the top companies that had the founder still at the helm. They had the greatest 15-year stock gain, and prepaid legal was there at #3. That's power when you're taking a look at a publicly traded company. So we have a very financially strong and stable company. As a matter of fact, prepaid legal services did about $500 million in revenues last year. Let's talk a little bit about the need in the marketplace. You know, in today's economic climate, everyone needs access to lawyers. Unfortunately, with all the people that have been laid off, they may need advice on severance packages. All the foreclosures that are happening, perhaps they need advice on mortgage negotiations. And so our prepaid legal plan does for your legal bills what your medical insurance would do for your hospital and doctor bills. In other words, many of the legal services you need most are prepaid through your membership. Who's covered? Of course, the member, their spouse, any never married dependent children up to the age of 21 living at home. Also, any full-time college students up to the age of 23 never married and also dependent. Any children up to the age of 18 from whom the member is a legal guardian of. And any physically and mentally challenged children, regardless of age, living at home, all under this one membership. With our prepaid legal plan, there's 5 major areas of coverage. The first is preventive legal services. And we're preventive in a lot of things that we do anyway. You know, I've been prepaying for my auto insurance for a long time. But in order for me to get back any of that value that I've been prepaying all of these years, I've got to crash or total my car. So I'm really not looking forward to getting any of that value back. The same thing with my homeowner's insurance. I've been a homeowner for a little while, but someone has to burglarize me or my house has to burn down for me to gain access to the value I've been putting into that policy. Life insurance, you know I'm not looking forward to that value, but here's something finally that's a now benefit. We can't wait to use this benefit. As a matter of fact, you can pick up the phone, call your attorneys on an unlimited number of matters and get questions answered without paying the typical $200 or $300 an hour. It's covered under our membership. I never forget the time I called prepaid legal services. You know, I was in my truck and I made a U-turn. The steering wheel stuck in mid-U-turn, and roadside assistance came and towed the truck back to the dealership. They didn't do what I thought they should do, however, so I called my prepaid legal lawyer. And they gave me advice. They told me, listen, based on the state that you bought that truck in, based on the make and model and the steering issue, if they keep your truck for 3 days on that same issue, they've got to give you a brand new truck that day. Now, I would have never known that and would probably have swept it under the rug if I had to pay $200 or $300 an hour for that answer. But it's the power of having access to my rights. You know, if you don't know your rights, you simply don't have any. The lawyers will also write letters and make phone calls on your behalf if necessary. Now, I never forget I had this company threatening me over $92.20. And they said that if we didn't pay it, they were going to send my name to a collection agency. I didn't want my credit to go bad with $92.20. But I figured I'd call Prepaid Legal to see what they could do. They wrote a simple letter to this company, and the letter had a bunch of legal jargon in it, and at the end it said, you must cease and desist all contact with our client pursuant